Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. And today we are here to talk about episode 2 of the Loki show. Loki is like seriously blowing my mind right now. And it's hard to keep track of things on a timeline. So we have consulted with a special time agent, shall we call her?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Our time agent friend, Noah, who has been doing some research for us. Just to make sure we get the historical events and the times and dates and places correct. So thank you to Noah right at the beginning for all of your help in researching this particular episode.
Yes. Because the timeline goes bonkers at the end.
Yeah. So we it's great to have someone who's willing to like comb through the dates and times where, because she's so into history and it's great.
Noah's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So this episode was called The Variant for obvious reasons. We're gonna meet the variant. And the opening at the Ren Fair, we see her for the first time, although it's only via possession and in her cape. So we don't really, because they play into pretty hard trying to make you think that this is gonna be a man.
Yeah,
probably like make you think that it's maybe even Tom Hiddleston playing another version of himself. So they leaned really hard into trickery for that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how I'm sure that you felt the same way that I did about it, where it was like, we kind of, I mean, we said in the last episode, even though these two episodes are dropping at the same time, we said in the last episode that we kind of knew it was going to be Lady Loki. So I already was like prepared for her. Was like buying into any of the trickery that it was going to be Tom Hiddleston playing another version of Loki.
Yes. So
sorry Marvel writers.
Sorry Marvel. We saw this one coming.
Yeah.
So they bring Loki in, and Susan, did you watch the television show Hannibal? The scene where he breaks down the crime scene reminded me so much of Will on that show.
Like Will on that show.
Who would go through the crime scene and like put himself in like the killer's frame of mind to explain why they did what they did. And of course, Loki is thinking as himself for himself, but like I was like, is he gonna say this is my design? But what he said instead was, I see a scheme, and in this scheme I see myself, which I feel like is the same thing.
His version of this is my design.
Yeah.
No, I thought the same thing. I did think though that Loki was being absolutely insufferable in that scene, like in like one of those obnoxious ways that like Loki can be. And so I was like, I really hope he like calms down. And throughout the episode, I felt like he did.
He did, and he was very obviously stalling.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And obviously I don't think it had anything to do with the variant at all. At least in my opinion. He was just stalling.
He's up to Loki stuff. I don't even trust the stuff he says he is doing.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So since that didn't go well, they didn't catch the variant, and she'd also taken a hostage for the first time. Mobius has to go back and have a meeting with Ravonna where they go over this botched mission. And in this scene, Mobius finds out she has another agent that works for her, which he did not know and seems pretty jealous about. Is it Kang?
It might be Kang.
Kang. Yeah, if you're not familiar with Kang, his history is wildly complicated. And we're actually looking to get someone who is like a Kang expert to come on and talk about him.
Totally. And we're definitely going to be doing a mini episode on Kang. And by mini, we mean probably the same length as a normal video, because that's how complex his history is in the Marvel universe. The best part is you all are about to meet him in the cinematic universe because he has been cast. And I'm so excited. He
has been cast.
Oh my God.
We said in the last video, I thought it was just rumored, but he has been officially cast. now I'm blanking on the actor's
And
name
I was like,
again.
the lead in Lovecraft
Yeah,
Country.
the lead in Lovecraft Country, who is
He's
incredible.
incredible. And if you guys haven't seen Lovecraft Country, definitely binge that in your free time. It is so good. And read the book because the book is also very good.
Jonathan Majors
That's
is that
it.
actor's name. And
Mm-hmm.
he's incredible. And I'm really, because this show also has Wonmi Musaku, who is Hunter B-15. She is also from Lovecraft Country. So I'm hoping that they have more people from that show coming into the
Oh,
MCU
for
because
sure.
they're phenomenal.
Hey, Courtney B. Vance, anyone? What? I would cry if you became part of the MCU. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Ravana and Kang have like a huge history in the comics, and he's in love with her. And the idea that he's also maybe doing time stuff makes sense. He goes through time to conquer
World.
places.
Yeah,
Yeah, world.
worlds.
It's the very oversimplified version of Kang.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's what he does. So he would be someone who's time traveling,
And
but
I
he
would
would not.
say also so good. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay.
Okay.
He
No,
would.
I was just gonna say, like, and just to bring in the terminology of another fandom, he kind of always ignores the prime directive, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's always a bit problematic in terms of when he visits other worlds and conquers them. That he does not usually maintain the integrity of the planet, so to speak. He definitely earns his title, Kang the Conqueror, because that is what
He
he is.
he also wouldn't be following the TVA rules.
No,
To
not
this point, I am still wondering if Ravana has been like placed in the TVA to help him and help like him go unnoticed through time to set things up for himself. I don't know.
maybe.
Maybe. But they
Or
do
maybe
start off as enemies in the comics, so it's also possible there.
for sure. That would be super interesting. I'm most like the I'm mostly familiar with Kang in terms of like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and how often he shows up in those comics. But also I would be really willing to like go through some other Kang recommendations if anyone has any. So
I know I had a friend, shout out Ray. He recommended there's a bunch of Young Avengers with Kang.
I wonder if I already have those.
Maybe.
I have comics I haven't read. Like
Yeah, me too.
I feel
I'm a huge
like
fan.
all comic collectors.
So one of the things that this other person brought to her too is this pin that says Franklin D. Roosevelt's high school. And one of King the Conqueror's alter egos is named Franklin. It's Franklin B. Richards. So it's just close enough to evoke that, like, this makes me think about
Mm-hmm.
King again.
For sure. And we have a new Spider-Man movie coming up that I
We do. And we know that this is another lead in. We're all heading towards, yep.
Yep, and we're all headed towards Multiverse of Madness, so I really, really think it's a Kang setup.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mobius asks how the timekeepers are handling things, and Ravana says something like they're so involved, they've never been this involved. They're really insisting that we find this variant, etc. I'm really starting to suspect that they're not there.
I
They're
was like, I
not
don't think
real.
they exist personally.
Yeah.
I think it might be her and Kang, to be honest.
Yeah. Is the prime time, like, is the timeline they're protecting one where he gets to rule all the places he wants to rule and be in charge of everything? I don't know.
Possibly, maybe, I don't know, but it really, with the way she talked, she was super suspicious, and it made me go like, oh, so those timekeepers are made up and propaganda to keep everyone in line. They have nothing to do with anything.
Right. Or they're like in a coma. It's like that thing where they
Oh yeah,
started off as
yeah, like Odin sleep or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, like there
So
used to be timekeepers, but now they kind of don't exist anymore. So she just takes care of it.
yeah, she does seem to be running everything.
She does. Yeah.
when Mobius gets done with their meeting and comes out, Loki tries to do have a teaching moment with him, but it doesn't really go well because Mobius is like, no, 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 no.
I really love that line at the end of the teaching moment where he was like, one of these things is true. Mobius is like, one of these things is true, and you can pick which one. And it was either he's a scared little boy or he's just saying whatever he needs to say to get Loki to do what he wants. And I
Yes.
was like, I actually think both of those things are true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially because Loki keeps fixating on like the scared part of everything, which is interesting.
Yes.
Because we have to remember this is the Loki that just came off the failed plot in New York. So he absolutely would be in a lot more of a scared place than the Loki who survived Ragnarok and teamed up with his brother and had all of the emotional weight that Loki had.
Yeah. Yeah. Fear is definitely a driving force still in this version of him.
He hasn't gone through like all the dark elf stuff, and like I said, the big thing being I think Ragnarok and Hela and the loss of both his parents.
Yeah. Okay, so Mobius puts Loki to work and makes him go through the files on the variants, which is when Loki sorts out that variants could possibly hide in apocalyptic events, since nothing they could do would really change that. Important is in this in the paperwork scenes is that he picks up what is presumably the file that is Lady Loki that we meet later. And if you pause it and zoom in, it has her name, which is Sylvie Laufadaughter.
I did not see that. That's fantastic.
And so if you don't know, Sylvie is the name of Enchantress, who was created by Loki as like a weird prank experiment. He didn't really have a reason for creating her in the comics. He just wanted to see what it would happen.
So I will also point out that for those loyal viewers who started watching us way back during WandaVision, Enchantress was someone we brought up way back in the day of potential who Dottie could have been in terms of magic users, people who mess with reality, people who mess with time, people who mess with mind control, and then someone who kind of belongs in where the MCU is headed. So for them to just like mic drop Lady Loki / Enchantress name, that's pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think there's a good chance here because obviously she has the Asgardian last name that means daughter of, because like Loki's is Laufeyson and this is Laufadaughter. I'm wondering if they're just going to say, rather than he like made this person as a weird prank, that she's maybe the daughter of a variant, and that's why she's reading as a variant.
Yeah.
Or they might have just decided to combine the two characters because the MCU does that sometimes.
And that way, because I mean, in terms of like marketing stuff, like you can't really get rid of Tom Hiddleston's version of Loki.
He's call him Loki.
Yeah, he's made that character popular. He's made that character fun. I can completely say that I like always as a Thor reader was like Loki's okay, you know? Like he was always like second to third tiered villain of Thor versus like the MCU made Loki everything that we all think of as Loki. So you can't really just replace Tom Hiddleston's version. So it would be great to have a Lady Loki / Enchantress character without having to get rid of Tom Hiddleston's version entirely.
Yes, and I'm hoping that's what they're doing. So to test his theory on like no one can change the outcome of an apocalyptic event, Loki convinces Mobius to test it, and they go to Pompeii right before the volcano blows up, and it's maybe one of my favorite Loki scenes ever was him throwing stuff and yelling, "Nothing matters, there are no consequences."
I feel like that's something Loki's always wanted to do his whole existence.
Yeah, he was completely free.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, so that obviously they prove there's no variant activity on the little things they use to detect that. So Loki was right. Uh, the variant is hiding somewhere in an apocalyptic event between murders.
Mhm.
And as they're trying to figure it out by looking at every apocalypse ever,
Sounds like an easy task.
yeah, Mobius realizes that the variant gave him a clue, which was the
The
bubble gum
blue,
from the future.
yeah,
Yeah,
the blue
Kool-Aid.
candy. Yeah.
So then they can look at when did this gum exist? What were the natural disasters? This is interesting to me too, because it means she wants them to find her for some reason, that she left a clue. And she also seemed like she was waiting for them before going into the next phase of her plan.
Yeah. She is a Loki. Therefore, she wants an audience. To me, it harkens
Uh,
back to that in like that Tony Stark realization when he realizes like that Loki put the thing at the time Stark Tower, because it wasn't Avengers Tower yet. But he's like, Loki likes an audience. Loki's big and he's flashy and then he like pauses because that's when he realizes it's like this. He like Tony's like that too. But to me, I'm like, of course, Lady Loki wanted them to see exactly what she did and exactly what she's doing. And she wanted them to see all those portals open with those like reset things going through them because like that's what Lokis are like. They need the attention.
and even if it is something like she's just his daughter, that still makes her a Loki.
Yeah, and even if she is his daughter, she probably has a lot of daddy issues
Yeah.
because her dad was Loki.
It really seemed like the audience she was waiting for was Loki.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. Like, look what I did, Dad.
Look what I did. I get you in trouble.
Hmm.
Um so Loki in this part where once they have the gum and they're looking through the disasters, it seemed to me like Loki was really enjoying being a detective.
Yeah,
Uh, so
especially
I
because he was allowed to win.
oh, that's true.
You
He
know,
got to be
because
right.
he kept being able to be right.
Yeah. So
Another
they
thing that all Lokis love, winning and being right.
so the TVA comes to an agreement where they're going to go to where the disaster that they think the variant is hiding in to get rid of the bad Loki. And Hunter B-15 insists that Loki stay with her and not Mobius, which leads into another thing that I really loved about this episode, which is the variant keeps possessing different people, including her, and watching other people play like Loki's is incredible.
Yeah, especially her.
Yeah,
Like she
she
was
was
my
great.
favorite out of the three or
The
four.
three, yeah,
Four.
because the fourth one was the hunter in the very beginning, but she didn't really. She just fought. She didn't get
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
be. Yeah,
It was really cool
uh,
watching other people play Loki.
yeah, I loved it. Uh, so she says at one point, "If anyone is anyone, you're me," to Loki, and he also says when they're fighting, "I would never treat me like this." Again, pointing to me that this is probably Enchantress.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sylvie. Don't and she also does not want to be called Loki.
yeah. She does not want to be called Loki the whole time. One of the biggest things for me with her being Enchantress is the possession with, and then also for again, this is an explaining channel. For those of you who don't know, Enchantress is green and uses green magic in terms of color coding. And yes, Loki is also green,
I mean, and
but
use
and
magic.
uses green magic, but it looks kind of different. Like
It did.
Loki's is a little more gold and hers is a little more true green. So
Mm-hmm.
they definitely use like different shades and tones of green in the magic. Even when Loki like dries himself off, it's like a goldish green that are mixed together in even the color correcting versus hers, which is like a pure green. Like it's
Yeah.
green.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed that too. This Slightly. It's the little things. There are only so many colors.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Um, the other TVA agents find the missing one, who's clearly not great.
Mhm.
She sounded a little crazy, and she keeps saying it's real. And then she said, "I gave away where the timekeepers are, how to find them." So I assume that's something she told the variant. And where they are and how to find them to me still doesn't mean they're awake or doing what we've been told they're doing.
Right. And then I also was like, did you actually give away the right information? Because, like, if Mobius doesn't know that information and he's never met them, how would a random TVA agent know?
Yeah,
That was
that's
my big
interesting.
question on that situation.
Loki is trying to make a deal with the variant to overthrow the timekeepers and take over the TVA, and she's not interested. She says specifically, "I don't want to rule the TVA." I don't know if Loki does. Again, I don't trust anything he says. He could be working so many angles. He's like Mac on Always Sunny. I'm working both sides, so I
Yeah.
always come out on top.
And then they're, but like Mac, he's also doing it very badly.
He is.
Yeah, he's not really accomplishing much
No,
in what he's doing right now.
he's not. He's just throwing out everything he can.
Yeah, and really his ultimate goal is to not be like disintegrated. So I kind of get it where you're like using every tactic possible to like, you know, remain alive. Um,
Existing.
yeah, existing, that's the word. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, I'm like, Loki, you're being a little too Loki right now. You might want to pump the brakes if you want anybody to trust you ever.
Cool. So this is when we get the reveal that she has all the charges set up, all the resets, and Loki yells, "What do you want with me?" And we get the big reveal. She shows what she really looks like. She takes her hood down and she says, "This isn't about you." And the last and final clue in this episode that this is probably Enchantress is that girl blonde.
Mhm. Yeah.
Loki never blonde,
Yeah. Loki's never blonde.
but Enchantress is
Yeah. And
blonde.
in fact, Tom Hiddleston actually has naturally very light hair and they make it dark for Loki. So yeah, she's blonde. And Enchantress is very blonde because P.S. Enchantress is very Asgardian
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them are blonde.
Yes. Yep. Oh, she's again, if you like getting into convoluted comic stuff, she's Asgardian.
Mhm.
But Loki wanted a mortal to think that they might secretly be Asgardian is part of the thing with
Yeah.
creating Sylvie. Yeah.
I just always considered her as guardian because
Right, because he
yeah,
made
I know. I
he
know.
gave her all those powers.
I know. He made her as guardian. Ugh. Comics are complicated, guys. Read them. They're hilarious.
So she leaves through a time door and Loki hesitates and the TVA guys are running up and Loki decides to follow her.
So is
Um,
he loyal to Mobius at this point? Is he loyal to him? I mean, ultimately he's loyal to himself, right?
always.
Always. But who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. He he plays both sides so well that he literally could have any motivation for
Mhm.
following her.
Mhm. Mhm. I would
So
hope it's to kind of understand who she is
I hope
in order
so
to
too.
manipulate her.
Right. Well, yeah. To like
Yeah.
figure out what's going on. Why is this a woman? What does she want?
Mhm.
Um, so that's actually the end of the episode, but I saved this little bit for the end, which is when she puts all those charges through time doors and resets so many points in time, we get a shot in the TVA of the screen going berserk, multiple timelines branching off. One of the TVA guys refers to it as someone's bombed the timeline.
Mhm.
Fair. And then you could screenshot if you wanted to pause and screenshot. You can see some of the dates that got time bombed. Uh, and there are both dates in our history, like world history, and MCU history. So I'm going to start with what my favorite pop up one was, because I bet you have some hot takes about the year 1382 Ego.
1382 Ego.
She reset the planet Ego, or something on the planet Ego.
Sorry, I was like, Ego. I was like, what are you talking about, Ego? Whoa, okay. Hey, remember when we talked about that in a previous episode where you don't just kill Ego the living planet?
So that reset could do a lot of things because it's really long time ago, and Ego's a celestial. He's been alive forever. The date doesn't super matter as far as him existing. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that is the setup maybe for the what if. We know there's a what if episode that shows what if T'Challa was Ego's son and became Star-Lord instead. I'm wondering if it's just like a small setup for that.
Or I was like thinking about Kitty Pryde as Star-Lord also.
Kitty Pryde as Star-Lord. Or if
that.
I'd love that.
I was like, your pie in the sky MCU wish. Maybe they're going to set it up.
But she becomes Star-Lord from Peter Quill.
So. Right. Yeah. But the MCU doesn't always exactly follow the comics.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So I am actually taking this to maybe mean also that, hey, maybe Egos will be alive. Maybe this small thing thousands of years ago changed like everything.
Yeah. So. That would be kind of crazy. But also I'm very happy about that, to be honest, because I know there's celestials in the MCU. I never liked the idea of killing a celestial because you're not supposed to be able to do that so easily. So I do enjoy that she reset one of the celestials. It also could mean Peter Quill winds up with his powers again.
That would be nice for him.
Yeah. Of course, then he'd have to question why his powers are back, and that would become a whole other thing.
Yeah. It could also mean all of this, actually, because this to me was like, this is Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah, as soon as it happened, I said, watching it, I was like, oh, so this is where the Multiverse of Madness starts. It starts right here. Yeah.
So it could also be like set up for like, oh, seeing different versions of characters we're used to.
Yeah.
From these other timelines.
For sure.
Another MCU spot that got a reset was 1984 in Sakaar, which is where Ragnarok takes place on Sakaar, where the Grandmaster is. This is maybe just an Easter egg. So, in fact, probably a lot of these are, because again, the Grandmaster would have been there. He would have been alive.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change a lot.
Yeah. But there. I just also enjoy, I don't necessarily know that the year matters in that case, but I do like that there was such like an 80s vibe to Ragnarok, and for them to give it an 80s date makes me very happy.
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes me think like, oh, this is like a cute Easter egg.
Yeah, for sure. And I've wanted them to bring the Grandmaster back to the scheme of the MCU for a while, so this might just be a like, hey guys, Grandmaster is coming back.
Yes, I would love that. Grandmaster and the Collector are brothers.
Also,
can we have a scene? Yeah. Can we have scenes with them, please?
Can we have them together? I would love to watch Jeff Goldblum and Benicio del Toro just like chew scenery together.
Yes.
just they could just have like a whole movie of them just like chewing scenery and seeing who could be like the bigger character over actor.
Would love it.
I would love it. I would watch that movie again and again. Or if it's a show on Disney Plus, that too. Whatever.
It's just a show. It's just Grandmaster and the Collector talking.
And you know, they have like Dinner with Andre and those types of plays where it's just two people in no man's land, has two men in a room talking. Like, hey, we can do absurdist theater with the MCU characters on Disney Plus. I feel like we've reached that point where like, why not?
Why not? Why not just do this because I want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Okay, another MCU one, 2004 Asgard. this is pre us meeting any of the Asgardians
Yeah,
in
that's
the
before
MCU.
Thor. Hmm.
So curious there if that has anything to do with, did Loki create her? Does that have something to do with her origin more than,
Thing.
yeah.
Yes, that would be great. I just hope it doesn't affect Thor's journey.
Oh, I mean, based on the stuff we've seen from this behind the scenes photos from Love and Thunder, he seems like he's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
He's the same.
He's also so jacked. It's like the biggest Thor we've seen.
Yeah. He is truly a drawing of Thor now. 2301, Vormir.
Oh,
Way after all of our knowledge of what's going on
right.
with the Soul Stone.
But we all know that that's where the Soul Stone lives.
We
Did
do know
someone?
that's where the Soul Stone lives. And we also, I saw someone talk about like some of these MCU locations that she's resetting might have something to do with Kang still.
They might have something to do with Kang. They also might have something to do with the gems or the
Yeah.
stones. Um, because I hope we're done with those. Because there's just so much else to explore in Marvel that like it would be a shame to continue to come back to the stones.
Yeah, except the time stone because Doctor Strange
Well,
needs
yeah,
it,
Doctor
and that's
Strange
their
always says,
fault for changing how that works.
yeah, Doctor Strange always says the time stone. And then they seem to have replaced the issue with Vision and the Mind Stone with how Vision actually is in the comics.
Yes.
So, um, yeah, I hope I would rather them be Kang stuff.
Yeah. Kang stuff is fun. Let's see. Let me see if that was all the MCU
And
locations I
Kang being the new big bad, like Kang being the new Thanos would be fantastic if you think about it.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. He's
Mhm.
very interesting.
He would be
And
very interesting and like I would say a not as obvious choice for a big bad for the next phases of the MCU, but definitely could be written into being that. And when you have such a solid actor playing him, you could write him into a bunch of stuff.
yeah, I'm wondering because we know that he was cast specifically in Ant-Man and the Wasp as Kang,
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
what
for Quantumania, yeah.
for Quantumania. But I'm wondering if maybe he's gonna pop up sooner.
Yeah, because Quantum Mania is a while off, and to have him cast that soon for something that's like 2 years out.
Yeah, and they're still prepping um for even like filming that. Like the like Evangeline Lilly just recently started going back through her like
Yeah,
workout training
yeah,
to play Wasp.
yeah. And I did like her return to social media also, where she was like, "Oh yes, I remember why I'm not on social media." She's my favorite. I love Evangeline Lilly. And
Oh,
have I mentioned that I love Wasp also?
big Wasp fans here.
Big Wasp fans here.
Xandar.
Xandar. Well, good, because we
1991.
know that Xandar was destroyed by Thanos.
Uh,
But
yeah,
what's the date?
and the date was 1991,
Oh, okay. So pre Thanos.
so pre Thanos, and it also does connect to a comic book with the Fantastic Four.
Ooh.
So connection to them, and they have a lot of interactions with Kang.
Kang. They have so many with Kang. I know that because of Kang, and I'm gonna like admit this here, and everybody in the chat is gonna take away my nerd card. I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan. Like I'm gonna have to learn about Fantastic Four along with everybody, and Tab, you're gonna have to teach me a little bit because I haven't read, unless the Fantastic Four were part of a bigger Marvel group event. I rarely read Fantastic Four on its own.
Yeah, I actually think I also only get into them when they're with the others.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think the last MCU one I have is Hala, which is the home planet of the Kree.
Mhm.
And the reset year was like 51, so long, long time ago in our timeline. There's a
Are
lot
they
of wars.
We had a lot of
The
wars
Kree's involved in a lot of wars, so it actually could have something to do with
with the scrolls too,
the
maybe.
scrolls, the Kree. I mean, it could also just, and any one of these could also just be random,
Yeah,
um,
to
or
create chaos.
to create chaos. Anytime there's a war thing, I feel like it's possible Kang is up to something there because that's like a good time to try and take power somewhere is when there's fighting.
For sure.
So maybe that. And then there's one that's a both, both regular world and our world, which is 1947 New York. So a lot of our MCU history happens in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I only found out this week after we recorded the first episode that there is a shot in the first episode of Loki where it looks like Agent Carter is being taken through a time portal.
Yeah, I saw that on another YouTube channel.
Yeah. So 1947 is Agent Carter when that show was happening
Mm-hmm.
in that time. So it could have something to do with her or
And
with
we'll
that.
know that there's a what if coming if Peggy was Cap.
What if Peggy was Cap? And we also know that it's very likely that Steve and Peggy violated the TVA. I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
Earth, normal or us, Earth. 1942, 1492, Portugal.
Is that
Uh,
when Columbus took off?
yeah, colonization of the West Indies.
Hmm.
Uh,
So maybe white people are less terrible.
Maybe. And
Maybe they
actually,
made it better.
as we go through this, a lot of these historic periods are colonization and like really bad moments in human history.
That actually is really interesting that this particular version of Loki or Enchantress would want to fix things like that.
Fix, make worse. Hard to
Make,
know.
make worse. That's right. She could be making them worse. I
There's
like
no
that. I like that I still have hope that I'm like, no, she's probably fixing colonization and making it so there are more natives and they have the correct type of rights that they always should have had. No. Oh, wait, I'm dealing with someone who's not trustworthy and is a terrible mischief maker. Never mind.
yeah,
Forget it.
we don't know what her motivation is at all.
True.
Um and also Kang could have been involved back then. I mean, there's a chance she's trying to fix stuff King has done.
True. Because maybe
Or she
King
could
did
also be
something for
trying to,
her.
yeah, or to protect him. Like I could see it going either way.
Yeah. Though I do feel like somehow she's a protagonist. I don't know why I have that feeling. I just feel like she's not doing something, like she's probably still selfish and she's doing this for her own personal interest, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things, we are supposed to like her slash be on her side.
Yeah, I get that same feeling. Oh, I missed a Marvel one because I'm 1982 Titan, which is Thanos's home.
Interesting.
We know there was wars there, and that he got mad at his planet for not listening to him. Um,
Because then if his planet is never destroyed, he never goes on his like quest for the, yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Um,
That could explain why Doctor Strange still has the time stone. Because if Thanos never cared or never wanted it,
then he would still have it.
yeah,
Chaos, such chaos.
yeah. Don't you love when you're dealing with time travel stuff because you're like, oh, well, if this, then all these things, because like butterfly effect, one thing affects everything.
Anything could be different now.
Yeah.
Um, 2005, Beijing. So in some comics, Beijing has like the gate to a prison realm.
Hmm.
Would be like the significance there. But it could also have nothing to do with that.
And nothing newsworthy happened in Beijing in 2005. Like nothing.
Not that would make sense
Okay.
to Like it makes more sense that it would be this
Yeah.
EU thing, yeah. 1984 Japan, a lot of stuff was going on in Japan in 1984. A lot of like disaster, political chaos, horrible stuff. So like if we're looking for places where King's like, there's chaos here, I'm gonna go get involved. That's a good spot to guess.
Also, Japan, I feel like Kang has comics where he's in Japan doing exactly what you're talking about. Like Marvel Universe likes to throw their characters into Japan a lot. So that sounds like Kang to me.
1808, Baracara. I'm probably butchering that.
I don't know where that is.
It's in Colombia.
Okay.
So that reset probably has to do with the Cabrera municipality being set up,
Okay.
which is another, oh, is Kang.
Mm,
Is she going after Kang, basically, and resetting stuff he's done? Yeah, so that's a good guess for that one.
for sure.
There's so many of these are like, well, that sounds like where Kang would be. Like in 1390 Rome, when there was a ton of drama.
Mm.
It's when Pope, oh god, I should have looked up pronunciations for stuff. Pope Boniface the Ninth saw to it that Ladislao was crowned King of Naples.
Mm.
So, an important historical ruler time, and another good spot for Kang to be like, I'm in charge now.
And in that time period, there was a lot of the church controlling the state in general.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's a nice place for Kang to drop in and be like, oh, you two are kind of whatever. Why don't I just take over?
And then we have two together, which are paired together because in 1208 Porvu and 1551 Thornton, they are colonized lands, and these dates both take place pre-colonization.
Gotcha.
So that with like Portugal and honestly Sakar and that kind of stuff.
And if you think about it, Kree, because if you're thinking of Kree in terms of like the Skrulls and what they did to the Skrulls, like that's colonization too.
Yeah, so she might genuinely be trying to fix some stuff in history.
Yeah.
So and I cross-referenced this one too. In 1999 there were two US states, Cookville and Kingsport, and no one seems to know what those are. So mystery dates. So that might even be something like, oh, one of the guys that works on the show, that's his hometown, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like those fun little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Or that could be like the date one of their kids was born or something like that.
Oh,
sure. They do production babies sometimes.
Yeah. So that is the little tidbits for the timeline stuff. There, I don't remember if that's ever like it flashes back and forth between that. So there's definitely some there that didn't make it on camera, or that people are like didn't get caught, but they're the ones we know.
Interesting. I really do hope that we can trust her as much as we can trust a Loki, or as much as we could trust the Loki that we followed all through the Infinity Saga.
If she is Enchantress is a good, like, is a young Avenger, is on the Avenger side, is doing good guy stuff.
Yeah.
So she might just be trying to hunt down Kang.
And she definitely knows something that we all don't.
If Kang shows up on the show, I will be delighted.
I will die if Kang shows up on the show. That would be so great. That would be such a great intro to him too.
Yeah.
And then he would obviously be in like Black Panther 2 also.
Right.
About it. Definitely could be in the Multiverse of Madness, could be in Spider-Man. Like he's associated with a lot of Marvel characters, like a
Yeah,
lot.
he can pretty much show up anywhere he wants.
Yeah, and then we've talked about this so many times on the show, how we are headed towards either Young Avengers or West Coast Avengers or both.
Gross.
Yeah. So Kang definitely, if he's in a Young Avengers comic as well, let's keep him around for that too.
Yeah. I would be delighted if he is the new, I guess, big bad.
Yeah, like the Thanos or whatever. That they've peppered in some stuff, and then
When it showed the shot of the timelines like all branching off, did your brain go, where is Doctor Strange?
I just was like, Steven is having an aneurysm right now.
I was like, he can feel this, right? Like
Yeah,
he just
I'm sure he
oh,
can.
no.
I'm sure that he just is like if he's drinking tea in like the sanctum, he just all of a sudden is like, and he's like, yeah.
He has so much to deal with. I at this point, they're going to have to show me what he's been doing during.
Oh no, they have some splaining to do as to like why he has not been around for all of this shit that's gone down throughout the messing of like all of this. Like why he didn't show up in WandaVision. Like he has to have been doing something insane. And he has to show up in the Spider-Man movie. There's no way they can do all that without a Steven cameo. Even if he's a cuts, or even if he's a what's it called, after credit scene. They need to explain what he's been doing, because it better be something big that's kept him from fixing all this stuff. Because Jesus, Steven
opens with him like wearing a Hawaiian shirt and he has the sunglasses.
It better not. I hope it opens with him. I want it to open with him like on some sort of mission, coming back from the mission, and all hell has broken loose. And he's like, crap.
He's been in space with Nick Fury, helping with that. He's like, I better go home and check on things, like open the portal.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, all these timelines are all over the place. And he's like, are you kidding me? Wong, you had one job. Anyway, that is all we have for Loki episode 2. Once again, I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. All of our social media information is in the description below. And stay tuned for next week, where we watch episode 3 and explain that to you, because, hey, we're an explaining channel. So you guys, if you're not watching Loki, please watch it. It is amazing. And it is on Disney Plus, dropping Tuesday nights at midnight / Wednesday on the Disney Plus app. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.